Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, humanoids of all descriptions, welcome to the channel. I'm Kat. This is my place where we always rewind our VHS tapes before returning them. So, you've made a big decision. You've gone through whatever licensing procedures your state may require. You've gone to a sporting goods store, and you've come home with a box that looks something like this. Well, now you're sitting at home with one of these and you've realized, gee, I really don't know how to use this. You're not prior military, you're not prior law enforcement, you've never received any instruction. All you know is what you've seen in movies and on television. So, you decided, like millions of other people do every day, to go to YouTube to look for information. And what you found is literally thousands of YouTube channels run by guys with beards and flannel shirts. And they want your time and they want to tell you how to go about things. Why should you listen to me? Well, I'm a guy who carried a gun professionally for 22 years, starting in the U.S. Army, and later, when I had the seniority and I was doing jail work, I could bid armed posts. When I was doing that, I taught marksmanship in the Army, and I represented my unit in competition at my last duty station. And I've studied marksmanship in the intervening nearly 40 years since I went to basic training. So the first thing I want you to do, if you're going to stay here and listen to what I've got to say, is take your firearm and your ammunition and go lock them up. Because the first thing we're going to talk about is safety. Somewhere in that box is a pamphlet, it's an instruction book, and it probably contains the NRA's firearm safety rules. That's great. We're not even going to talk about using the firearm yet, because there are other things you need to consider. First of all, you shouldn't be going to anybody on YouTube for information on use of force. Use of force laws vary from state to state. I'm not an attorney, nor am I an attorney in your state. The two best ways for you to get use of force information for where you live is to sit down with a practicing attorney and ask questions. Not can I. Can I is always a question of ability. You're asking questions about when may I or how may I. May I is a question of permissibility. The second way to acquire a base level of that knowledge is to invest the time and the money to become licensed as an armed guard in your state. Many, if not all states, as part of that curriculum, will not only have you shoot, but will have a block of instruction on your state's use of force laws, followed by a written exam prior to your being licensed. The agency that I worked for required annual training, quarterly firearms qualification, and along with that firearms qualification, an annual written exam on our state's use of force laws. So I recommend that to you. The first thing we're going to talk about today is hearing protection. Because you may have heard this, guns are loud and they can damage your hearing. The thing with hearing loss is it's permanent and it's cumulative. You don't want to be the guy who's 60 years old who can't hear his kids or his grandchildren. So, According to the interwebs, the threshold for hearing loss is 85 decibels. Not decimals, decibels. I'm not going to attempt to explain how decibels are measured. There's a mathematical formula. If I were any good at math, I'd be an engineer, not retired from a correctional setting. Just know that you need to wear hearing protection when you're shooting or when you're around people that are shooting. You also need to wear hearing protection when you're using power tools, when you're doing home improvement, and probably if you're engaged in power sports. So there are generally two types of hearing protection, at least the way I'm going to break this down. Earplugs and ear muffs. Ear muffs generally come in two types, disposable and reusable. Disposable earplugs can be had in jugs full of them, purchased at big box home improvement stores. The way they work, they're foam. You roll them between your fingers, compressing them. You're almost, I hate to say this, you're kind of making a foam booger. You put that in your ear, and as you can see how that starts to expand out again, that will eventually expand out and fill your ear canal. They're single use, they're disposable, and they're cheap. You can hand those out like sticks of gum to the people around you. So, back to my notes. There are pros and cons with all of these types of hearing protection. So, disposable, obviously they're cheap and they're always clean because it's single use. Now, the cons is that they may be less effective because they don't quite fit your ear. Also, as you saw, they don't have a handle. You have to be careful about how far you put things into your ear. You don't want to have to go to the emergency or the urgent care and have a nurse or a nurse practitioner go after your ear canal with a pair of forceps to pull something out of your ear. But they're better than nothing. As a matter of fact, they're a lot better than nothing. Your second option when it comes to earplugs are professionally fitted, reusable earplugs. This is an example that I was issued at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri in 1985. They're fitted by a medical professional who takes a look at your ear. And as you can see, try and get you some focus here. They're a triple flange. They fill the ear canal very nicely because, again, they're fitted by a professional. And in this case, the color indicates the size. Of course, that information is now almost 40 years old. So, you can use these for years if you take care of them. They probably keep out more sound more effectively. They can be more expensive, but again, if you take care of them, you only buy once. The cons, aside from potential issues with price, is because they're multiple use, you have to keep these earplugs clean. They will accumulate your earwax, so you're going to need to wash them off on a regular basis using warm water and either hand soap or mild dish detergent. And they can be torn, but you get a nice handle to pull them out with, and you get a nice handle to insert them. As long as you keep them and the case clean, it's a good product to use. The next option are ear muffs. And again, you've got two options. these are plain earmuffs. It's got a spring arrangement to hold them firmly against the sides of your head. There's a plastic shell. Inside it, there's a foam insert. And there's some sort of soft material with a smooth covering to create a seal. This does a much better job of excluding not only sharp, traumatic blasts of sound, but loud sounds over a long period of time, like when you're running a lawnmower. The other thing with these, some firearms instructors will claim that over here in the mandibular angle, that there's no bone between your skin and your middle and inner ear, and that allows potentially damaging sound into your middle and inner ear. I have never seen a refereed article in a reputable publication like Journal of the American Medical Association that says that's possible. But they in fact do cover that part of your head. The other type of earmuff are an electronic earmuff. They have all the same parts as their plain earmuffs, but there's a microphone, a volume control, and in here, behind this foam, is a speaker. There is a circuit that detects sound that may damage your ears, and it shuts the microphone off before that sound is transmitted into your ear. These are excellent. You can hear what's going on around you. Conversations aren't muffled. They're great for hearing range commands. The only drawback from these, aside from the fact that they're more expensive, is you have to remember to take the batteries out of the battery compartment. If the batteries leak, it may ruin the circuit. If that happens, they will still function the same way that these do. The drawback for all earmuffs is that if you're using a long gun, rifle, shotgun, muzzleloader, the contact between your cheek and the stock of the long gun may push your skin up and create enough of a break between your face and the seal that damaging sound may enter your ear. However, and I have done this, depending on where I was shooting, you can always add an earplug under the side where you're shooting from. So I shoot right-handed. I have, in fact, depending on where I was shooting and what I was shooting, put an earplug in my right ear underneath my earmuffs. Remember, hearing loss is cumulative. It ruins your shooting experience and your life in general. So get yourself some good hearing protection. And once we've gone through everything, go out and have fun at the range. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you next time for another video.